All right. Well, welcome to this month's webinar with TBC, and happy to be announcing one of our new partnerships here with Truckstop. So today we're going to cover carrier negotiation skills 101 and making data your most effective tool. So I'm joined here by with Brent Hutto and David Ansteatt. So my name is Nick Hillesheim. I'm the Chief Sales Officer here at TBC ProDriver. Why don't we just do quick introductions here? Jen, if you could jump forward to the next slide. And Brent, if you just want to give a quick background about who you are and what you do for Truckstop.
Yeah, man. Well, great to be on today, Nick, with you and TBC. We appreciate the new relationship that we have as two companies. And I've known TBC for a long time, and the great effort that you guys put in the market to protect carriers out there on the road every day. And I know they appreciate it, and we appreciate the partnership with you guys. I'm Brent Hutto. I'm the chief relationship guy at Truckstop. That means I'm kind of the chief fun guy. I get to go out in the industry and talk to everybody about the marketplace and what's going on. I've been with Truckstop 10 years. So that just gets me started into trucking. But prior to that, I was with Overdrive Magazine, the voice of the American trucker, which is really where I kind of cut my teeth in the industry to really get to know the carrier marketplace, Nick, and to personally just fall in love with the segment of these great men and women who help to run all the freight that goes across the highways in America, and what they mean to our American experience. And so I've just had a great 25 years and experience in this market, and it gets better every single day. So that's me. By the way, I'm married. I got 6 kids, and so I'm just like everybody else out there. I need a whole lot of ketchup and mustard hauled across America for the Hutto family.
Yeah, that's great. And then David, just a real quick intro on yourself.
Yeah, my name is David Ansteatt. I have been with Truckstop just a little over a year now as a customer trainer, but I have been in the industry in one way, shape, or form since 1992, and some of those roles have included driver, fleet owner, things like that. So, like Brett, I would like to echo the sentiment of my respect and admiration for these owner operators and carriers that do what they do on a daily basis. I know firsthand how tough it can be, and that's what this is all about. And I look forward to it. Thank you.
Well, excellent. And then just a brief history about Truckstop. I know you guys have been in business since like 1995, so you've been around for quite a while. But the core business is really focused around a load board. And I know you guys have done some really cool stuff in the last, probably 10 years, and started to incorporate a lot more technology and really, giving more visibility and allowing, carriers and drivers to use data specifically to their advantage. And I know we're going to get into some of that today. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add, just high level, about Truckstop at all, Brent or David?
Yeah, let me jump in there, because I love to talk about this with Truckstop. So when we started in 1995, we brought something, Nick, to the market that was not currently available, which is transparency of the data. So we turned on the data to all the owner operators and carriers in the marketplace that are our customers, because we felt like the best way for this marketplace to create the best profitability for the carrier and even the broker, and for this marketplace to grow, was to have transparency of the information, the data that's in the market that runs freight. And so that's what's unique about Truckstop. We believe in complete transparency of the data, which is evidenced by you can log on to the front end of Truckstop and see the freight that's available right there, available right now, this day. And so the aggregate of the freight, not the individual freight. But so the point being is that we just believe in transparency. I think that's what sets us apart from everybody else in the market, and it was one of the keys to our success.
That's great. Now, yeah, thanks for that additional color, yeah. Brent. Jen, do you want to jump forward to the next slide? I think this is a good point to just to transition here. So I know there's been a lot that's been taking place in the marketplace over the since I've been in trucking, right? I've been in trucking for about 15 years, and I've seen so many different changes. And so we'd just love for you to touch on some of the history of the market and really the impacts as folks look at this type of technology or this type of service for their organization, Brent.
Right, certainly. Thanks, Nick. It's really important to know kind of where you are, and we'll talk a lot about that negotiation process today as you and David and I kind of roll through this on some of the tactics and things to look for. But it's the most important thing is to know where the marketplace stands. And in the last, since I joined Truckstop in 2013, it has been an unbelievable up and down market. One of the most important things to consider from any carrier point of view is that you are in a standard supply and demand economic marketplace. So don't get confused that there's any one side or the other. It's total supply and demand. It's about how much freight there is out there and how many trucks there are to move it. And what's interesting over the last 7 years, but really, if you look at it from a broad market standpoint, over the last 19 years. So what's the market been? Has it been up? Has it been down? And what's interesting, in the slide that's presented in front of you, you're going to look at 4 different sort of time periods. One is 2003 to 2005, 2014, which is right the year after I got into the marketplace with Truckstop. And then 2017, 18, 2022 to 2020 to 2022. I asked you to take a look at those because the marketplace had really highs in that standpoint. In other words, the rates were favorable for carriers. They made more money, they made more profitability, there was more freight in the marketplace. And so what drove those things? So if I'm a carrier, what do I want to look at in the data that says, okay, am I in a marketplace that's kind of maybe depressed? Is it a marketplace that's just kind of normal? It's an everyday marketplace, which is what the marketplace is most of the time. Or am I in one that's really beneficial to me? And what the thing to look at the most, the biggest impact into the freight marketplace over the last 19 years has been government regulations. And I'm not here to choose sides about the government and choices that they make. I'm just saying that the impact that the government regulations has on an industry has the greatest influence as to whether or not it's going to be a plus market or potentially a challenging marketplace. And I say that because if you look at all 4 of those time periods, every one of them was a government regulation. So the tax credit in 2003, regulations in 2014, that's ELDs, by the way. Excuse me, the regulations, that's hours of service in 2014. 2017, 2018, the biggest market in 38 years since deregulation was driven by ELDs. It had only changed the percentage of weight about 4 or 5%, but boy, did rates go way up. And everyone thought, oh, we'll never have another market like that. It'll never be that way. It's going to be a long time even before we even approach that. Well, we had this thing called a pandemic going on in our country. No one saw it. It was the first one we've ever had in over 100 years. Any civilization's had in over 100 years. And so behavior changed. And boy, did the marketplace change. With the longest, and I'll show you that in a couple of slides, the longest extended high rate marketplace for brokers and for carriers in the marketplace since regulation in 1980. And so what you look at today, and I'll show you on the slide, and this is we've come all the way back down. It feels like we've kind of fallen a little bit off a cliff, but the sky's not falling, that we're just in a normal marketplace. And we'll show you about that. And we're showing you that so you can understand better how to negotiate. And the bottom point on this is just there's more and more regulations coming our way as the independent contractor laws, the AB5 type laws that are out of California are changing the dynamic of the leased on owner operator with a fleet, and then EPA emissions and regulations that are going on. All these things will continue to create uncertainty in our market, which means where there's uncertainty, there's higher rates in the market. So just know that going in. You can either ask me a question or we can move to the next slide.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably going to get into it, Brent, but and I've heard, heard this a bunch of times, but I mean, in reality, we're still above pre-pandemic rates.
Yeah, about 10%.
Okay.
10%. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that's interesting, because I mean, it's very easy to feel like the sky is falling, right, and focus on the negatives because everything was so positive from a rate perspective. Right. And now it's just it's kind of normalizing to your point here, but we're still above pre-pandemic levels. So
We are. That's a great observation, Nick. And so that takes us in the next slide. And I'll show you because when I talk about uncertainty in the market, I also want to talk about hope in the marketplace, because the good thing about being a carrier, a trucker, a business owner inside of the transportation of freight is that our marketplace continues to grow. And this is not the overall marketplace. This is the spot marketplace for the small carrier. All right. So you go way back, 2008, and I got in the market in 1998. So go all the way back to 2008. Go back to 1995 when Truckstop started. There was 5% of all the freight in America that was moved in the spot market, about 5%. So a really low percentage. Fast forward to today, where you've got that nice little Truckstop waypoint there on 2022. That's way above 5%. It's about 30% of all the freight, all of the contract, all of the full truckload freight, which is, by the way, 85% of all the freight in the United States is full truckload freight. But about 30% of it is moved inside of the spot market. And if you'll notice to the right of that, it goes up to 44%. that the marketplace is going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to expand. It's going to continue to struggle for more truckers to come in the market. So rates are going to continue to be on the positive side. And this isn't just Truckstop. This isn't a Truckstop measurement. This is an industry measurement. This is measured by the largest supply chain group in the marketplace called the CSEMP. Armstrong and Associates, who's a big barometer in the marketplace, and then JB Hunt. They used a very large player as another piece of data in there. But I point this out because it's important to know that if I'm driving a truck, if I'm owning a business, do I want to stay in here? What's my hope in this? Which is the marketplace is still going to grow, and where there's growth, there's opportunity to grow your business. Super important as this marketplace continues to move forward.
Yeah, I've got a question for you, Brent. So, I mean, as you look at this is a nice trend for the spot rate market, right? Mm-hmm. And that transition. What is causing? What's the major drivers behind? From contract to spot?
Well, here's a couple things. Number one, the overall freight in the United States continues to expand. It hasn't had anything more than a level period in the last 60 years. It has continued to go up. And here's what happens. We get more population in America. We get more purchasing that's going to go on. So as long as the American population continues to expand, we're going to have more and more freight in the marketplace. Plus, the United States is the largest consumer-driven society in the world. I mean, we are the dominant player when it comes to freight. I think 40% of all the freight that moves in the world moves in the contiguous 48. So the marketplace is going to continue to expand, but what's driving that into the spot market? Well, technology is, transparency is, the shipper becoming more comfortable in working with a broker who can move it in the spot market, and how all of that data is pushed back to the shipper so they can be comfortable in moving in the market. I'll tell you the biggest thing that had an influence on that, Nick, in the last decade has been the pandemic, which is, if you remember during the pandemic, rates were so high, the shippers were like, look, I don't care what it takes. Just get me a truck to get it to the market. I'll pay whatever it is, because it's more important on the shipper. And this is a big negotiation thing. It's more important to the shipper to get goods to the market than it is to hedge on price, because the price of transporting the goods to the market is the smallest cost in producing the product. Yep. So they're always going to default back to that. So, but it's been the shipper becoming comfortable in using a broker, because they had to, in moving freight in the spot market among these smaller carriers. And really all of this is driven, dude, all of it, Nick, by technology, because it's able to push that information to the shipper, where the shipper goes, oh, I see where my freight is. I understand. I have confidence in where it's going. So that's been the biggest driver. And that's why our marketplace continues to increase. Plus the connectivity between the two markets, the contract marketplace and the spot market are joined together, because half of all the brokers in America are brokerage arms of truck fleets that are in the marketplace. So it's all one connected marketplace.
And that makes total sense. And so the trend upwards, I mean, technology is not going to slow down, right? We're going to see the exponential. No,
it's only going to speed up.
Exactly. So, the trend is, it's interesting to watch, but I don't see that slowing down, like you said.
No, and this isn't just these groups. You can look at any of the talking heads, Wall Street people. You wonder why there's so much investment money coming into logistics and transportation. It's because these guys aren't stupid. They know how to do math, and they know how to do really, really high level math. And they see this marketplace continuing to grow and continuing to connect into the consumer. And so that's why there's so much optimism in the market.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
Jen, do you want to jump to the next slide?
Okay, man, this is a fun one. All right, because I'm a visual guy. If I learn with my eyeballs first, and as men, we certainly do first, but as humans, we learn with our eyeballs first. So look at a great picture. All right, so I had our data guys pull data all the way back to 2018, because that was the big market, right? Everyone's like, oh, that's the big market in 2018, and it's going to be tough for it to ever get over the top of that. Let me just talk about it. So when you look at this marketplace, it takes into consideration supply and demand, market shifts, your operating costs. You can look at operating costs as compared to the marketplace as it goes up and down. Because on the next slide, I'm going to show you how to sort of measure that. How things have changed in short and long-term contracts. By the way, everything today is a short-term contract, because shippers aren't necessarily comfortable in doing long-term contracts because the rates were so up and down during the pandemic. And then I say this as well, because you can look at this data and look at, if I'm a carrier, what's my market? Maybe I just haul in the Southeast. Maybe I just haul in the Northwest. Maybe I'm all over the United States. What's my best opportunity depending on the time of the year? But this is called the Market Demand Index. It's something put out by Truckstop. We've put it out for almost 20 years now. And it's basically a measurement between the amount of freight that's in the market and the number of trucks that are in the market. Notice I always got the trucks below the freight because there's always a whole lot more freight than there are trucks. All right. So during the pandemic, it was like this. Normally it's kind of like this, but it was like this during the pandemic, and that's what drove the rates so high. But Jen, if you'll go to the next page, I want to show everybody something really unique. All right, so Nick and David and I want to communicate this to you. Okay, the pandemic drove something very unique. It created something what's referred to as a new normal in the marketplace. So if you'll draw your eyes on the left-hand side to the old normal, the market demand index is an index between the amount of freight and the amount of trucks. All right, so the old normal for like the last 12 or 13 years was about 30. Now the marketplace grew from a 20 to a 30, and then it moved. And so you'll notice that red line goes all the way through 2018. All right, so it's yes, the beginning of 2018 was way above it, but you'll see that it kind of came back down into the middle of 2019. It's just a normal marketplace. All right, so that's normal. Normal's not bad. Everybody makes the most money in normal because it's predictable. Right? Yeah. Yes, you can make a lot more money when markets are way up, but that's not predictable. All right. So what I want to do is if you go just past the end of the red line, you'll notice quarantine. That's when all the trucks, the bottom of that quarantine was all those trucks were lined up in Washington, D.C. going, there's something wrong with the pricing in the market. And the president even investigated it and found out, nope, it's just a standard supply and demand marketplace. There weren't a lot of goods being moved in the marketplace. So the rates went way down. Remember, when supply and demand, when the supply when the demand is way below or way too close, I'll just back up. When there's a lot less freight in the marketplace in the same number of trucks, the rates are going to go way down. Okay. Yep. And so that's what happened. But here's the thing. They didn't stay down. Notice what happened way up and to the right over a very short period of time. In less than 6 months, you were at a marketplace that was almost 100% above normal, and it kept climbing. Why did it climb? It's because we were all at home buying stuff for our houses. All right, we're working from the house. The consumer goods purchasing, in other words, the stuff that we buy, that we use in our houses and for our lives every day, increased by 40% over the normal. All right, now that's a giant amount of goods or freight that needs to be moved, because every good is a freight. 99% of that hits a truck. That's what caused this super large market across the marketplace. So what I'll say is, you look at this giant market we had. It's the longest, highest market we ever had. And then I've got on the left-hand side, it says in black, new normal question mark. We don't know exactly where it's going to balance out, but if 30 was the old balance, it's at least going to be 50, which means there's more opportunity for carriers in this marketplace. So because that means there's a greater amount of freight overall in the marketplace. So the index will continue to move up. And by the way, if you're wondering whether or not the way the market behaved and did it follow the regular seasons of the market, you'll notice there's a gray line and a blue line. They almost parallel each other. It tells you that the seasonality, in other words, what it should be during that season and what it was during that season, are very, very close. What that tells you is the data is behaving normal. The marketplace is behaving normal. Okay, so there's nothing going crazy. And you even pointed out that the marketplace is about 10% above normal. That's in the spot market, and that's true all over. The contract marketplace is even higher than it's normal, but that's a different part of the market. The point here is that there's going to be a new normal. There's going to continue to be more opportunity in the marketplace, and we want to show you today on how to negotiate through that, and how you can use this data that I'm talking about and combined with unique data on a lane, on a load in a lane, to really maximize your ability to move that at a rate in that lane.
Yeah, this is great stuff, Brent. I mean, it paints a really good picture. So, Jen, do you want to jump forward?
Yeah. Well, here we are. Yeah, let's jump into this one.
Yeah. I mean, from what I'm seeing here, I mean, it looks like you're really going to talk about how you can help guys make more money, or guys and gals make more money in trucking.
Yeah, well, that's definitely it. And so David and I, David's driven the truck. He's been on several sides of the marketplace. I'm just the data guy. I've been in the market for 25 years, but here's what I know. 1 + 1 = 2. And if you're making more on a load in a lane, you're making more profit on it. So I used this year. This was a metric that we started using this year on negotiation. So if you got a price put on a lane, and let's just say in the middle of the pandemic, it was $3. Well, that's not the ending negotiating price. It's up to you to kind of understand the data in a lane, understand how many loads are in a lane. David will talk a lot about that. But really, what can you get above the normal rate in that lane that maximizes the range, maximizes the rate you're going to get. I pulled this from a broker last year that said they were negotiating about 25 cents higher than they posted the freight at. And so what did that equate into? Well, on 100,000 miles a year for a carrier in the marketplace, there's about 70 plus loads that they move a year. If you get 25% more per load, it's $350. Just do the math. It's about $25,000 more dollars in your pocket, and which enables the trucker to do whatever he or she wants to do. So do you want to like drive less because you want to enjoy more family time? Do you want to invest more in your truck? Do you want to buy a second truck? Do you want to grow your business? It's all about negotiation. So David, what's your observation on this one?
That number that is there that you're getting by almost 25 cents more per mile, that's basically your cargo and liabilities.
Yeah.
As an owner-operator, right? So you can consider it a vacation, or you can consider that as a down payment. And in a real life scenario, we'll come later to lanes and what I used to call home runs, right? Sometimes you're going to get 2 or 3 loads in a row that are not home runs, right? So you do need to take those particular loads and add what you can to them, so that when that home run comes, it's even better. And you have to take what you can get, even if it's that small.
Yeah, that's a great point, David. What I've learned from different friends in the marketplace, from owner operators, from people that coach owner operators, sometimes it's about looking at, what do I need to do to get from where I am to that better load you were just talking about, David? And so the idea is to how to maximize that from point A to point B, from B to C and C to D to maximize what you're doing. But it all comes back to utilizing the data that is at your fingertips on Truckstop. And I'm sure other load boards do the same thing, but it's at your fingertips. If you know the data in the marketplace, you can get the best return for that load in that lane that you're looking for. Maybe it's one that's getting you closer to home. Maybe it's one that's getting you closer to an event you want to be at. So, but it's all about maximizing that rate. You wouldn't know it unless you look at the actual data that's going on that day in the marketplace. You have it at your fingertips, because here's the big thing. If you don't make a decision quickly, the best freight on Truckstop moves in less than 60 seconds. So you have to have all the freight looking at you. So I think on the next slide, we're going to talk about what does it mean to know the type of freight that the broker has. I'd love for David to start this one, and I'll jump in there. And then Nick,
gotcha.
Any commentary from TBC?
Yeah, it is. So these are the 3 different sources of where brokers or anybody can get their freight from. And from a owner operator or carrier standpoint, there's benefits to all of these different kinds of freight. First off, a contract freight I used to like, because it's normal, it's regular. These are lanes that shippers have all the time that they've just contracted out, and they're going to be the same. And you also have an opportunity. A lot of this contract freight carries with it what's called a fuel surcharge for that broker. And so that's going to go up and down with the price of fuel. So one of your classic issues, which is, hey, fuel's so expensive and the market's so low. If you are working with a broker where you've built a relationship, and we'll talk about that in a minute, and it's contract freight, when the price of fuel goes up, they're going to get an incremental increase, and you should be taking part in that as well. Spot market can be agony, but it can also be ecstasy, right? So I know here in Florida, which is where we operated out of, we had, you shouldn't really celebrate hurricane season, right? But the day after a hurricane, when everything quieted down, my guys and myself, we would position ourselves to get in touch with all of our friends and our partners that we knew had relationships with FEMA, right? And we would be taking water and supplies all over the Southeast where they needed to be. And they were great options for us. And the relationship freight is, that's your quality of life, is what I used to call that as an owner operator. But because as you do business and as you perform for brokers that you know and trust and build that relationship, a lot of times, as much as we're going to talk about these load boards and these tools that you can use, and you should still use them to be informed, getting that call, just saying, hey, when is the next time you're going to be in this area? Or when is the next time you're going to be doing this? Or can I give you this load because you have that trust? Those are things that you want to be doing, so that half your week can be planned out by that phone call from that broker that knows you and that you know him as well. Or
hey, David, quick question for a second. I mean, you were a fleet owner. So, as you look at these different sources, what would be a good percentage breakdown? Like, hey, I should have 50% contract freight, 30% spot market freight.
As we grew from 1 truck to 3 trucks to 9 trucks, then eventually we were at 27, right? When I was when you're between 1 and 3 trucks, you can do the spot market if you plan. As you grow, you want probably 50 to 60% of what you do to be contracted freight, and then you build around that, right? You get into business with somebody that you know has good contracted freight with a consistent customer that you're comfortable with, and you want 50 or 60% to be that. Then you're going to have that broker relationship where they're going to kind of connect those dots for you to get to the next contract freight load, and then you're going to use the spot market as you can. So it depends on the size of your fleet and what you're looking to do. But I think the larger you grow, you're going to want more of that to be contract and relationship, whereas a 1 to 2 to 3 truck owner can probably do a lot right off the spot market.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I mean, because the bigger you get, the more you want to understand, kind of, you want that steady bit of business, right? So that way you can, continue to figure out how to scale your business, based on, that contract grows, you keep scaling your business. And then you supplement it with some of these other, these other sources that you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. So let me jump in there a second and point out a couple of things. Number one, consistency creates profitability. Yeah. So the more consistent freight you can get, and here's the most important thing. As a business owner, we want to help every carrier in the marketplace live their dream of being a business owner. So we want to give you the opportunity to move freight anytime, anywhere you want to. It's your choice. You get to choose all of those. Some of the recommendations for if there's, and I hope that there's some new people, new carriers or truckers looking to become independent carriers, listening to watching this webinar, because understanding how the broker acquires freight is probably one of the single most important things you can gain in the marketplace. And the reason I say this is that when any carrier calls a broker, has to negotiate with a broker via phone. Typically, it's now it's via phone. Understanding their position helps you get what you want faster. So when David was talking about understanding how the broker acquired the freight or the type of freight that they get, is it a contract freight? In other words, they can't negotiate much on it, right? Because it's locked in. They've locked it in. Is it spot market freight, which that's a speed issue, right? The best freight in the spot marketplace is a speed issue. So you got to have all the data at your fingertips, know where you want to go, know the data that's around the marketplace, the rates that have been recently in the marketplace, so you know how to make a decision quickly. And then the one on the bottom, when he said relationship freight, that's a relationship that broker has with a really good shipper in the marketplace, and they've got the freight. Nobody else has the freight. And one of the common things to know in the marketplace is that a shipper oftentimes gives their freight to more than one broker, right? So, and that's very common in the marketplace because they need to get the freight moved. But if a broker has it themselves and nobody else, they have the greatest flexibility on the rate to be able to move it in the market. That's why the relationship with them is important, because they have a tight relationship with their shipper customer, and you should develop a tight relationship with them because you can maximize the rate on it. But super important in all these things, if you understand how the broker needs to move the freight, you can move freight more profitably every single time. I can't tell you how important this is. And this isn't something that Truckstop dreamed up. I get to deliver on stage every year at Mid-America a great presentation to owner-operators. And one of the sessions is I have a broker come on stage with me. And one of the largest brokers in America actually gave me this information. He said, I wish every carrier knew this when they were calling us, because we could move freight better with them, because it would be more beneficial to us from a time standpoint. So super important. I know we're sticking on this for a couple of seconds, but this is very, very, very important to you being able to maximize your negotiation with that broker.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a great transition into some of these upcoming slides, because we're going to get into kind of the meat of negotiating and some of the things you should ask, some of the things you should be thinking about. So, David, I think you were going to cover this one.
Yes. So every carrier operates in a certain area. You may have an established out and back or triangle that you run, and I call those my home run lanes, right? So here in Florida, we used to get loads out of Texas that came into Florida that just paid a mint, and we had another customer or another broker that would give us consistent loads from Charlotte down to Texas and back. So we'd have to find our way up to Atlanta or Charlotte, work that in, right? So those were our home runs. I consistently, in order for me to get the best freight, I would try to plan at least 2 days ahead. Okay, so to know what I had to deliver and pick up within the next 2 days. And the reason that's important is not just for you to have yourself routed and be able to stay ahead of the market itself. If something happens and if something goes wrong and you have to give a load back to a broker, giving them a load back with a full day for them to recover and find someone else to take that load, they will consider that huge. That's a huge part of your customer service in the broker carrier relationship. Okay, just like you wouldn't want to be surprised how painful it is to get a cancellation or something like that. Please consider that as well when you're trying to plan 2 days ahead. And there's also a time. Okay, there's a, I used to call it magic hour, 7 to 10 a.m. Okay, 7 to 10 a.m. They go very quickly, but the more you can be glued in between those hours, work out for you. And then again in the afternoon between like 2 and 4 p.m. Things are going to open up a little bit more as you're looking 2 days ahead. And that's where you're going to find your best loads to be able to make your best plans. I was a Southeast carrier, but I know there's a lot of great areas in the Midwest as well. I know there's some carriers that made their living off of California freight this time last year, right? So find the heavy shipping areas, and I'll show you tools that can do that in a minute. But find the heavy shipping areas that match your equipment, okay? Here in the Southeast, if I had a guy not on a normal run, I would do anything and everything I could to kind of try to move him to Tennessee. It was a magical place. If I grabbed a load out of Memphis or Nashville, I could just always get good rates because they were always in that scenario where they had more loads available trucks. Okay. When all else failed, I used what was called the 450 to 550 model. Everybody wants that long load that just pays a mint and all that. Sometimes you can't find that. Sometimes you have to inch your way to the next hotspot. And when you look for loads that are, and sometimes maybe you have to go 400, but if you stay in that 450 to 550 wheelhouse when you're looking for your next home run, it's called, you will consistently find that those loads pay fairly well per mile. They allow you to pick up one day, deliver the next, and then make another pickup so that you keep the revenue flowing at least while you're trying to keep moving. All right. And then at the end of it all, when everything else fails, okay, look for some trade-offs. Flexibility can equal money for you as well. Okay. So look, I operated out of Florida. A lot of my drivers were domiciled, and I was in the Orlando and Tampa area, and on a dry van out of the state of Florida. It's a rough scenario. We found a broker that had a relationship freight, as Brent referred to, at the company in Haines City, and we used to get loads that were 30,000 pounds or less, open window pickup, morning deliveries the next day, easy one-day route. Now, look, they only paid between $500 or $600, but that's what I was going to get. And going back to, getting that extra money per load, you have to look at the week, you have to look at the month, and take that as a trade-off, right? So try to get the open window, try to get the lightweight, at least try to decrease your cost with the load if all else fails. Okay, so those are just some tips that I had on a daily basis that kind of made me and my guys very successful. So.
I think that's good. I mean, it's all about being flexible, right? And not just stuck in a certain certain mindset. You have to have flexibility because we all know things change in trucking. Nothing ever goes perfectly. So just having that flexibility, I think definitely goes a long ways based upon what I heard from you, David.
I would have, and you can obsess all day long about, hey, I just drove 450 miles from Haines City to Atlanta, and I got paid $550 on that. And if you do the math on that, you'll drive crazy, right? But then you get the next load coming into Florida, and it's $1,700. Now divide those 2 days, right, by the mile, and you've made $2,400 or so. We're doing 900 miles. It's not so bad. I'm sorry, my math is a little off. But we used to have guys that just used to go back and forth like that, and you would take that beating and go up because that next lane was so fantastic. That was the home, right? That was the home coming from Atlanta back over. So we would take the trade off going north so we could hit the home run from the south. Sometimes you have to do that. Okay?
Yeah, and I'd just add that the other part of that is the operating efficiency of your truck. So I know that it's fun to drive fast, and we think we're being more productive I know I do. And so, but in a commercial trucking operation, the efficiency of your truck is money in your pocket. And so I know that's not the most sexy thing in the world to talk about, but it is true. And watching your maximizing the rate on one end and then maximizing or minimizing your expense out the other means just more freedom for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to get at your miles per gallon. Again, it's not an attractive topic to talk about. And some people,
it moves the needle though.
It moves the needle. And if you're not getting at least 6.5 miles,
that's the minimum. Yeah.
You need to get at least 6.5 miles a gallon to really make it in this business.
One thing about that 6.5 that's super important. The National Fuel Surcharge Index is based on 6.5 miles per gallon.
Wow. So that's bare minimum.
Right. So if you want to get better on your fuel surcharge index, get better than 6.5. If you want to lose money against the cushion in the market for you, go less than that. So efficiency, I know it's not the sexiest thing in the world, and I know that, but it puts money in your pocket, because if you can maximize both ends, it's better for you.
Yeah, and it's amazing like what just 1/10 of a gallon means to the bottom line at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Jen, you want to jump forward to the next slide?
Good. All right. So when you are negotiating with a broker, listen, I've been there. It's very easy to be emotional. You just get in the game that this is your business, it's your life, it's your livelihood, and you might see a particular load or get a number that you find offensive. Okay, just remember, put on your business hat on, and there's things that you should say and things that you should not say to establish what is potentially a business relationship that can be long lasting between you and a broker to get some good freedom. So it is very easy to say some of those things on the left part of the slide. What's the best you can do? The rate is cheap. All of those things. I can tell you, I had dual authority at one time. I had some contracted freight. There was only so far I could go with it, and I would have to tell carriers, "Hey, this is what I have. It has these benefits. It is what it is. This is what it is." But it would bother me how much I would try to get gouged. If I had somebody call me that was fair and understood both sides of the equation, it went along with it. So use facts and data. I had an old boss that told me that when I moved down south here, hey, put the emotion away, use facts and data, have an informed discussion with somebody, and you'll probably get what you want, okay? So know about your deadhead and things like that. Sometimes it's gonna work for you, sometimes it's not gonna work for you. A lot of the loads I took, okay, so I was talking about that Atlanta to Tampa lane, right? And if you pick up in Atlanta on Friday and the load delivers on Monday, you're going to be sitting on that load for 2 days, right? So that's a point on a Friday to maybe bring up to a broker in your negotiating process. That's not being rude. That's just bringing up the point of, hey, I'm going to be sitting still for 2 days, and is there anything you can do about it? All right. So basically, state the rate that you want, the reasonable reasons that you think that's a fair rate that you're asking for, and then ask if they can accommodate that. All right. And also, sometimes the make or break point of that load is going to be maybe the appointment, the delivery. If you pick up something 450 miles away and you're in that scenario that I discussed earlier, and the delivery day time, the next day is 2 p.m. in the afternoon, you're going to lose it then. You're going to lose it then, right? So ask that broker, like if that's the rate and the rate's working out for you, ask him if, hey, I can make that work if I can deliver that at 7 or 8. Because now you're enabling me to get that off and pick up another. So facts and data, it's a business discussion, and I'm really empathetic to how emotional it can be to the rate that you want to get for a load. But this is a business discussion, and treat it as such, and come off that way so that you get treated that way by the broker. And I'm sure Brent can also refer to it. You talk to brokers as well, but
I do. Yeah. And David, those are super, super great points that you've made. The thing I always go back to is just remember there's another human on the other end of the negotiation. They've got responsibilities. When David says use facts and data, that's common ground that you can both land on to justify the decision. And when the broker can go back to their person that they answer to and say, I moved that freight at this rate because of this facts and data that I had in the marketplace that we both agreed on. Everybody is in good shape. So certainly, just remember you're dealing with somebody else that's a human, and use facts and data because you want to be able to land in a spot that you both can justify. And if you can do that, boy, negotiation works every time.
And the sales part of the broker goes away when they hear that you're informed and you know what you're talking about.
That's a great point.
Now it becomes two people moving a load. It's no more a sales or I got them or let me here is the number. It is two people trying to move a load, and the sales portion of it goes away. So that's a very important thing.
Hey, real quick before we move on to the next slide, I know I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but for those of you listening to the webinar live, if you do have questions, feel free to type them in the chat. We'll have a Q&A session at the end here. But before we move on, David, so I've got a quick question about from a safety perspective. So how much of an influence does me as a safe driver or me as a safe fleet, how much of an influence does that have on my power of negotiation as I'm trying to negotiate?
There should be your knowledge of your hours of service and you conveying that to the broker immediately upon pickup, whether you have your full hours of service or you're down to like 4 or 5 hours of the day. They should know that because first off, that's helping you establish with them that you're going to be able to execute on the load. On that last slide, I had brought up that 450 to 550 mile rule. Okay. Yep. You have 11 hours to drive each day. A lot of these tractors on the interstate, they'll do 65. There's states where you can do 70 and things of that sort. But that's a reasonable amount of miles that you could probably accommodate in a day. On a good day with smooth sailing, maybe you could hit the 600 mark. But that is one of the challenges of being a carrier. You have to remember those numbers all the time. You have 70 hours to work in 8 days. There's guys that know it well enough that if they drive 8.5, or if they work between 8.5 and 9 hours a day, they can kind of work on recap hours and set and things of that. So there's all those things that you need to consider. And when to really pull that safety in terms of hours of service into it is when you're being delayed at a shipper or receiver. That's when really another piece of negotiation should be happening for you. To be quick, to be very definite, let that broker intervene for you about either getting you loaded or unloaded or getting you paid for losing out on that particular time. Brokers are going to look. One of the tools I won't be showing you today, but the Truckstop. Brokers will pull up your MC and they'll see your safety record right away.
Yep.
Right. So that is very indicative when I've talked to shippers in the past. I actually spent a couple of years as a shipper. There's a right way to do things. Your safety record and what you do and your lack of violations, you operating properly, that just basically sends the message to carriers or to brokers rather, that you know what you're doing and you do things the right way, right? So, of course, we should all be concerned about safety. There's a lot of transportation companies that use the slogan, hey, your last stop is home, right? So it is a very dangerous thing that you do. I know and respect the fact that you guys may not know this, but these guys that drive over the road reasonably 2 or 3 times a day, they're going to have to evade some kind of accident. It's just, that's the bottom line. So I think safety is the right thing to do for you and your family, but more or less, it sends a message to the brokers and everyone else in the road that you know what you're doing and you know the right way to do things. So you have this good safety.
Nick, is the second most important thing. First off, you got to have a truck. Yeah. Do you have a truck and can you deliver the load? Second, do you have the qualifications to meet their compliance? So compliance meaning safety. So
yes, makes sense. Jen, do you want to jump to the next slide?
All right. So you are negotiating because you should not be moving even, you have to consider your empty miles as well, right? So anything that you have, your time, your truck, your availability, those are your tools to negotiate, all right? Understand that everyone that a shipper is looking to either get something moved, potentially get it moved at a reasonable price, that a broker needs a piece, and that you need a piece, and be part of that equation and make it a win-win for everybody. And when you get it, partner with the broker, partner with their shipper, and make it a win-win for everybody so that you are trusted, relied upon, and respected in this situation. And ultimately, look, if something doesn't work out, be prepared to walk away. I used to get anxiety about it. I used to sweat it out, but another load will come. All right. If you don't get it at 7 to 10, it may come at 2 to 4. It may come the next morning. But, you know, if you can't make it work out respectfully, be prepared to walk away from the table and move on and look for another one. And also leave the door open. Be prepared to walk away, but leave the door open, just like Pawn Stars, right? Every time they can't make a deal, the guy Rick says, hey, if you change your mind, I'm here. Come back, right? Leave the door open. Leave the door open so that if something changes, you might get a call from that same guy later in the day because he's able to use you. Okay. So all those are important for you as a carrier, and you are very important to your family, to yourselves, to society in general. Don't do anything for free. Be professional, and leave the door open if you do have to walk away. Okay.
Next slide, Jen.
All right, so these are just some things that I use as a carrier on a daily basis. These are excellent tools that Truckstop has. And we talked about the market, and at any point in time, you have to know where you are in the market or where a rate might be trending, so that when you do have that discussion or you do make that search and talk with a broker, you know what to work towards, right? So this is a lane that I put in last week, just from Charlotte, North Carolina to Tampa, Florida. I put in a particular date, and the Truckstop data is always ongoing. It's super sensitive. If I look for this lane tomorrow versus this coming Friday, you would see a difference in numbers there, just because there's always data being dumped into it. But you can see what the booked rates are. When I say booked, that means what was paid to move this particular lane. So you might say, hey, this time last year, I was getting $2,200 to move that same. Well, that might be the case. Brent showed you what happened in the market. But right now, that's what you can expect. That's what you can try to fight for at $330 a month. It's terrible, right? So, and then you can also look on our tools there and see what this rate has done in the past month. And in this case, it's trending down a little bit. It's not dramatic, but you can see the direction of the lane itself. And you do need to know that as well, because when it starts that upward one, maybe you can be the carrier that starts ticking it up, okay? And then what's really valuable is right in the middle there in our rate insights tool is you'll see 3 years worth of data. Now, COVID did hit, we did see that big dip, but a lot of times on these 3-year data trends, you'll be able to see seasonality to a certain. As much as I complained about the the load from Payne City, Florida, up to the Atlanta area, or wherever I would go in the southeast, I would get a little more money for that lane from the months of April through August because of agricultural season. Okay? Because now there were all kinds of carriers coming into Florida, shipping agriculture, and I could play that market on the spot market to get a little bit extra money to balance that out across the year. So all great data for you to have to make the best negotiation you possibly can with any particular load. We also offer some decision-making tools here at Truckstop. This one is actually, it's not our loads to truck ratio, but this is one of our load densities. Thank you very much. I should have said it because this is my favorite tool that we have. Right, so it's a very simple concept. Supply and demand, as Brent mentioned, and you can pull this up at a moment's notice, look at your type of equipment, and see how many loads are posted out of a certain state versus how many loads are coming into that state. Okay, and it's going to be split up by van, flatbed, reefer, specialized type of equipment. So, I had mentioned Tennessee. You can see right there that if I had a dry van in Tennessee, there's only 637 vans coming into Tennessee. There's over 1,000 labels. I have very good negotiating strength if I decide I want to take my truck into Tennessee, right? So you will see that, and then you'll see where I was explaining the Florida situation that I was in. There's 787 loads posted in the state of Florida and over 1,600 carriers coming in. So that didn't put me on the right end of the equation. So that allowed me to know my negotiating strength and just see what the market was at any point in time. And of course, all those different parts across the map are color coded, and you can get the Midwest and West Coast. And it's just a great tool for you to use to let you know where you are in the market. So that rate was $18.95. I can click on North Carolina and say, it's about a 1-for-1 ratio there. I'm going to probably have to really, make a convincing argument to get that full $18.95, but I had a chance of doing it with that ratio. Okay.
Yeah, Dave, I love this. If you'll go back one, just Jen, real quick. Here, all right, David said supply and demand. Keep that in mind, supply and demand. This is the demand that's in the marketplace that you've got for freight, and then you've got the supply of trucks that come in. By the way, the rate that David showed on the slide before this one, and he's going to show you that in another slide in a second, that's a truck. All right, so rates and trucks are the same thing in the broker land. All right, so you can't have a truck without a rate, and you can't have a rate without a truck. That's why they're the same word. All right, so when you look at this thing, and I love the low densities thing. I've loved it since I started Truckstop in 2013 because it gives you your negotiation ability. All right, you can look at it. If you're going into a market and there's 300 loads and there's 20 trucks, you know your strength is high. And by the way, we show this not just state to state, we show it on every lane. Every OD pair that you look at, we'll show you on every single one of them so you can make a decision really quickly on your negotiation strength, because that's the most important thing. Do you have a better advantage or maybe an equal advantage or maybe not as much of an advantage? You'll know that in a nanosecond when you pull up when you pull this piece of data and or a lane search. So let's go to the next slide now, Jen. So we'll jump into how this data works. This is a great piece of new technology that Truckstop just brought out.
Gotcha. And then, finally, you're going to enter at some point when you go to do a search. You may choose to post yourself. I did. I probably got 25 to 35% of my loads or my trucks covered by posting my truck, and then brokers would contact me. It was that kind of ratio. It also, again, it makes it, and sometimes you'll just post yourself and leave the end open, right? That's telling a broker like, hey, I'm here, I'm willing to go anywhere as long as you have something good, right? Well, here we took this lane, we took the Charlotte to Tampa lane at this point in time. You can highlight any loads that you think fit and compare these three loads, and you can actually click in there and see more details about the broker himself and things like that. But as I'm looking across, it gives you the main factors of these loads. And I'll tell you what, I'm probably in this scenario going for that load all the way to the right. It's less deadhead. It dumps me in Sanford, Florida, in case it's a dead area. I may have to drive to Georgia. I'm closer to pick up my next load. And, the revenue per mile is higher, and I'm also closest, and it's the lightest weight. So these allow you to look at those sort of things and maybe decide which one you're going to call upon. It's not the one that brings in the most money, but it's the one that you're going to make the most money on because it's going to cost you the least and it's going to pay you the most for what you're doing. So that comparison tool, and you can do 4 or 5, you just have to highlight them, compare loads, and it's a really nice tool to be able to allow you to break that down.
Yeah, David, I'll jump in here and just say, look, speed is everything. The reason we continuously create new tech connections with Truckstop, number one, is security, to make sure we keep out all the bad guys and all the players that might want to hurt your business. We developed a new platform to make sure that you're protected. But number two is speed. Speed defaults to everything. The sooner you can get the information, the sooner you can make a decision on the information, the sooner you can get that load on your truck and maximize your rate in it. You can't do that without really fast, efficient, secure data that you can see as quickly as you can type in your OD pairs or your origination and destination. So this is why, and being able to pull up multiple ones and do comparatives is super important, because remember what I said in the beginning of this webinar. The best freight on Truckstop moves in 60 seconds or less. So that's super important. You want to maximize your rate, have the data in front of you, be ready to pull the trigger and say, that's the one I want. I want to negotiate right now on that. And so you can put that on your truck. But that's the power of data. That's the power of intelligent data that comes to you that you don't have to go and find all the time. So that's why we've created the system that we have at Truckstop.
That's awesome. Brent, how long ago did you release this?
This actually came out less than a year and a half ago. So
okay,
we brought it beta into the market about 18 months ago, and then it really went full steam about 12 months ago. And this is an AI generated machine learning AI tool that continues to learn on the person using it and on the marketplace. And so it continues to perform data updates instantaneously. So it's not just like, okay, that was data from 3 days ago or 5 days ago. It's instantaneous data compared to that day, that moment in the marketplace. So we brought this out because rates change so fast, and the owner operator, we don't want you to miss out on being able to maximize your rate. So we have this really cool rate insights tool that allows you to have the best, most informed rate data in the market. So when you call that broker to negotiate the load, your ability to say, hey, the rate insights product says this is the variance, I'll land on this, this is what I'll offer in the marketplace, and you can get to a decision that much faster. So it's been a great tool for us, and it's only going to get better the more data that churns in it.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a fantastic tool to leverage.
It's fun.
So yeah, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So it kind of shows you the power of negotiation all the way down in this piece. I think did we skip a slide here? I think we went 2 slides in. Or maybe we took one out. I apologize.
I think it was just a summary slide, Brent. So
I don't know if you just want to, that's fine.
Like key takeaways, just bullet points for for folks to take away. And while Brent's going through that, if anybody has any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and we'll have roughly 4 or 5 minutes here for questions.
Questions are great. I'll just say negotiation is the key, but data is the key that gets you there. Okay, so that's the most important thing. You'll see these bullet points here. It's data. It's data. It's data at your fingertips. The more informed you are, the more profitable you'll be. So all these things are very important in the process, but it all comes back to the handling of the data and your knowledge of it and how you can use it quickly. So I want to jump to any questions that you guys might have, Nick, because I know we've got a few minutes left.
It doesn't appear any have come in yet, but I mean, we'll keep it open here for for another 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, I would like to make sure that we point out that because of this great new partnership with TVC, we've got a great offer to the market because we want to do something unique. The cool thing about TVC is the same thing that's cool about Truckstop, in Brent's opinion, is you guys develop products that create solutions for challenges and different things and needs in the marketplace. TVC is great at it. You guys obviously handle one of the biggest challenges they can have if they ever have a challenge with any type of the law on that end. And you guys have representation that's the best in the industry. And so you guys do that. We solve it on the other end for the freight transportation. And in light of that, in light of this partnership that we've started together, we wanted to make a great offer to the marketplace. And we want to offer that for any TVC customer that will sign up for Truckstop Pro, we'll give you the first month for free. That's a really, really big offer. Currently, in February of 2023, that's a $150 offer because it's $149 a month. It won't necessarily always stay that price. That's what it is today. And so we're so confident in this new partnership, so excited about this new partnership with TVC. We wanted to offer the market to the TVC customers a benefit of membership, which is their first month on Truckstop Pro for free.
Which is fantastic. And so the call to action here, if folks do want to sign up for it, we've got the web address right there on this slide. So we will send out the recording as well. So feel free to jot that down and go to that landing page, and you can sign up for that free month of service with Truckstop. And Brent, if people have questions, if they want to engage, I mean, there's also a way they can contact a salesperson through that as well, correct?
Oh, absolutely, they can. So hey, but wait, there's more. I love to do the Steve Jobs thing. Wait, there's more. All right. So not only is Truckstop offering the TVC customer a free month for Truckstop service for the TVC customer, that the TVC Truckstop customers are offered a free month of TVC. So that's another part of this offer where if you're a Truckstop, new to Truckstop, and you're not a present TVC customer, You get the opportunity to have that service for 1 month for free because of there's power in connectivity between two services and two platforms. And so if you're a Truckstop customer listening to this, you were just getting better at negotiation, or you're brand new to Truckstop and you said, I'm going to take a look at this webinar, you get a free month to test out TVC and learn how to protect yourself. Because look, freight moves everywhere. You're going to go across the United States. It's not always perfect. Mistakes happen, things happen. TVC is there to protect you in that, just like Truckstop's there to provide you the greatest opportunity to move freight in any direction you want to go. So yeah, we're always available to help. We have over 100 salespeople that want to help you. I just call them freight consultants, where their job is to help you be successful in the marketplace and to understand how to use the product. David's one of our, as you can see, he's he has first class knowledge and understanding of the marketplace, and he's there to train and help you do better at what you do. Because in the end, if you're not successful as a carrier, then it hurts what we do at Truckstop. And I know it hurts what goes on at TVC, because we need you to be successful as possible so we can continue to build products to serve you. So I say that, and now let David, you and Nick kind of close this out.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, there was a couple of questions that came in.
Oh, good.
One, yeah, so when dealing with a broker and finding a rate, do all brokers have an implied relationship that the fuel is included in that?
Most do, yeah. Just about the vast majority do. I used to get a couple loads on the spot market. Even after you do the negotiating process, they might send you a rate confirmation that says this much is fuel surcharge, right? But they're negotiating an all-in rate. But they will, as I said, if that broker does have contract freight, they will get a little bit of a bump as fuel goes up and down. And if you have a relationship with that broker, you might be able to take advantage of that, because they're still getting what they need to get out off of the load. But yes, the fuel and the fuel surcharge is included in that the vast majority of the time. It's
one of the best questions you could ask, and here's why. Fuel can kill you if you don't have it managed properly. Right now, the fuel surcharge is 57 cents a gallon. 6 months ago, it was 80. That's a big difference in profitability. Yeah. If you're not getting that in the transaction, if you're not weighting that in your transaction, then you're missing out on profitability. You're just giving money away. And I say that because in the contract freight marketplace, with a medium size and larger trucking companies, fleets that haul freight, that's all built into their contract. In the spot market, when you're negotiating a rate, the broker assumes you're building the fuel surcharge into that rate that you're offering back. It's up to you as a carrier to know where the market is and know how you want to negotiate that in. So please, whatever you do, find the best source you can for what the fuel surcharge is during that week that you're negotiating, because they come out, they're for every week of the year. This week it was 57 cents. 2 weeks ago, it was 59 cents. 3 weeks before that, it was 60 cents. So it goes up and down. It's been about that for the last 4 or 5 weeks. But 6 weeks ago, it was 65 cents. It was 70 cents. It was 80 cents. Like I said, so be very aware of what's going on. Like I said, like David and I and Nick say, know your data and enjoy what you do in running your operation.
Yeah. And one of the things that we didn't hit upon enough is, as a carrier, knowing your operating costs, and fuel's a big part of it. And that's your variant.
It's the number one cost.
That's your variant of your operating cost. That's going to go up and down each week. But the biggest mistake, if I can say that there's one takeaway for carriers to know, is is what's referred to as R&M, which is repair and maintenance. Too many carriers driving around trying to make the best deal with the best loads, hoping nothing goes wrong. Okay, hoping nothing goes wrong. Mm-hmm. Anticipate and budget for normal services and something to go wrong in the year. Take that and add it into your operating cost per month. And I'm telling you, when you break it down, it's going to be about 10 cents a mile for your tractor. And if you have a trailer, it's going to be another 8 or 9 cents as well. Okay. So make that a consideration when you're looking at your operating cost. Too many carriers miss out on that particular piece.
Okay. David, that may be another one of the greatest points that you've ever made for Truckstop. So the number one thing that puts a owner operator, small carrier out of business, major mechanical failure. Mechanical failure puts your truck in the shop. So all of your revenue generation is in the shop, and you have a great expense at one time. It's the number one thing that puts small carriers, owner operators out of business. it was really funny. I was sitting there a couple of years ago. I got to testify at the Senate Transportation Committee, and I got to talk to the Senate Transportation Chair, Senator Fisher out of Nebraska, and said, fix the roads, fix the bridges, because it's the number one thing that damages the truck and puts the trucker out of business. And it's the number one reason it puts them out of business. And so keep a rainy day fund the best you can, keep enough to overcome the revenue that you're losing, and to be able to repair your truck. And you'll be able to stay doing the thing that you love to do, which is driving a truck.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, we're about 5 minutes over here. So I want to thank Brent, David, thank you again, truly, grateful to have you on the webinar for this month, and, very informative for our customers. Super excited about the partnership. And, folks, if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to your TVC sales rep, and we can get you in touch with the Truckstop folks. And vice versa. Like if you have questions about TVC, the Truckstop folks can line you up with the folks at TVC as well. So, it's a very solid partnership that we have, and we're gonna, we'll work together on making sure all of your questions are answered. So with that, Brent, David, I don't know if you have anything else at all before we wrap.
No, I think I'm good, but thank you too, Nick. I appreciate that. Thank you, Brent.
Yeah, thank you, David. And again, Nick, appreciate all you guys at TVC Pro Driver for what you do to protect the industry and protect the lives of truckers that are out there. We can't have a great life without the truckers delivering the goods. And from all of us at Truckstop to everybody carrying freight on the road, we just wish you the best, and please let us know how we can always serve you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Everybody have a great week. Thank you.
You too, guys. Thank you.